다 가서 먼저 다 선je 줌는 되기 안에 된지 순저 거네 야 되바지 그게 뒤선 차 세요도 선je 줌는 되기 된지 저와 중화의 결혼기 지다 신의 시바의 캠바 라나메바 안에 결혼기 된지 시바 하신신 저와 심전라 잠바단 제위 왕기 안에 된지 남자 되게 랑왕도 송바 인자 송바 인자 아니 캠발라나메 바레 아니 뎨발라나메 바레샤 스제상 뎨바 망부유베 나네 뎨바 약쇼 교라리 디니 다지 시지 연된 나네 연된 약쇼도 교라리샤 스네 안 지기야 되제 아니 디인잔디야 차세기 인세지 아니 디송로와 디니 인자 안 디니기 인자다 상유점된 데에 예 상이 점는디기 지수 주제네 취기 냠는지 땡지기 남샤되기 알아 주의네 냠는지 오래 해서지 안디고 가사디고 쉬러.
Good morning. So how's the sound of the new microphone? In the front good, there, and at the back okay? Excellent. So good morning. Last night we started to look at this text by Geshe Rinpoche on praise for dependent arising. We looked at first the homage and the homage and the first verse. So within the first verse, we saw the Buddha being praised. Firstly, for two qualities. Firstly, for having come to realize dependent arising, and here his omniscience or his wisdom was praised as being supreme. And then secondly, the Buddha was praised by Lama Tsongkhapa not only for having realized dependent arising, but for having shared that realization and the way that others can attain it too, having shared that with all other beings. So for this second quality, the Buddha was praised. So Geshe Rinpoche in brief was praising the Buddha for being the supreme teacher and having supreme wisdom. And amongst all the great beings or the holy beings within the world, there is none that can compare to the Buddha in terms of a teacher or a founder teacher, or in terms of his wisdom. And then lastly, us as followers of the Buddha, we should follow his example and train in the same way that he did in order to achieve the same result as he did. Oh, sorry, I missed one point. And then so the Buddha, when he's being praised as the supreme teacher, is being praised there for having taught dependent arising and having done so with this motivation of love and compassion for all sentient beings, this wish for all sentient beings to be freed of suffering. And therefore he didn't keep this realization and this knowledge to himself, but he shared it completely and unmistakably with others. So these are the two qualities that the Buddha was being praised for, his wisdom and for being a supreme teacher.
상계 망고여로와 진짜 좀 차상 상계 차상 좀 버려더라와 진짜 디나네 약속 결혼하셨을 상계 나네 차상 결혼 약속을 해라고 말다야 좀 봐세디 지나다 당한 저기 낭비 좀 봐세야 아니 치료비 좀 봐 치료반안에 안에 치료바 직자마로여로와 어디서기 나네 좀 봐 자마로 유베나네 점불리야 안에 디니기 템바 유베 나네 다 낭바다 치바다 딩템베 망보 유베 나네 아니 디나네 상예 점내 결혼 템바 약쇼르샤 숨그마도 대야지 상예 차상에 나네 상예 차사 템바레 디나네 약쇼 결혼을 숨그마 상예 차상 윤된 냠바레 지바레 상예 디야가 윤된 자가레 디교레 세대요 말로 상예를 지바레.
One point to make here is that when we hear the Buddha being praised as supreme amongst teachers, so this term here, teacher, we see it's written with a capital T because it's a different word from what we usually have for teacher. and it relates specifically to the founder Buddha, or Buddha Shakyamuni. So when Buddha Shakyamuni is being praised as being the supreme teacher, it is being said that he is supreme amongst all teachers, but contrasting him as a teacher to teachers of other traditions, so non-Buddhist teachers. So amongst all teachers, you, Shakyamuni Buddha, are supreme. Who Buddha is not being compared to is other Buddhas. So it's not that Buddha is being said to be supreme amongst Buddhas. This is because all Buddhas have developed their qualities to the fullest extent and eliminated all faults completely. So therefore one cannot differentiate between Buddhas and say, oh, this one's greater than that, or this one has a speciality and that one doesn't. But rather, here the Buddha is being compared to non-Buddhist teachings. And it's in this context that he is said to be supreme.
Namba sanji dumbe nane, ane dumba nane, sanji jumne de kyuran dumba chodo kyuba, yaksho rishe sonye deya, chirim chigi, dine tone, ane dumba kuya deya, ane chigi manzo nangbare, kondo chiru bare, di inza manzo di yagare, di sungo mare, ya niring chigyo ra, dine gamme chigla magawa da, chigla gawa, gawi tone, dine sungyo mare. Donda kar sungo rasine, 다데 치료비 상여 점낸 디기 땡지게 남샤 다 땡진 저와 중와 또 안에 땡진 저와 중도 다음에 봐 최탐제 랑경 원에 말도 동이게 남샤데 송구도 디도도 지난 다 치료비 디기게 가서네 땡진 라과 디기데 시고데 땡진 참모 강라 떼바면 봐 랑문이 말도 봐 동이 세디 송고 말와 다음에 봐 송고 말 다도 주버 켈링 거라 치료비 디게 다도 두바 킬링 거. 제가 치료비 템바디게 다음에 베트남샤디 캠민도스 캠미도스. 제가 상이 좀는 디게 다음에 베트남샤 켄샤스. 제가 다음에 베트남샤 켄야 땡징 제와 중에 삼다지 땡징 땡네 다바 인자 강라마도 랑문이 두바디 민도스네. 디금세제는 다음에 베트남샤 켄제 캠바인자 제가 캠발라나메 바리 제가 디톤에 캠발라나메 바리 스템바 초도 규바레스는 디톤에 시순거다.
Then a second important point to make here is that, so we've just heard that Buddha Shakyamuni is being praised as being supreme amongst teachers when compared to teachers of other philosophical traditions, and not being contrasted with Buddhas. So why? So here, the second point to be clear on is that the reason why Buddha Shakyamuni is being praised as supreme amongst teachers of philosophical traditions is not because from some sectarian outlook that, well, we are Buddhists, so therefore we think Buddhism is best, but rather it's through using our wisdom that we see that amongst all philosophical teachers, it is only the Buddha who realized and taught dependent arising. It's only the Buddha who realized that one thing depends on another, realized dependency on cause and effect, and dependency on causes and conditions, and dependency on imputation. So it's only the Buddha who realized this, who realized dependent arising, and realized it as a skillful technique to come to understand emptiness. Other teachers of other traditions, whilst having many qualities, they didn't attain such an understanding, such a realization. So therefore, these two qualities that the Buddha is being praised for, one, his omniscience or his supreme wisdom, this is because only the Buddha has the wisdom that comes from realizing emptiness directly and cultivating it to its perfect level, its complete level. And then it's only the Buddha then who's able to teach this. So this is the second reason, supreme teacher. First was the supreme wisdom relating to the wisdom of having realized emptiness. So these are the reasons that the Buddha is being praised as supreme over teachers of other traditions, and not for some sectarian outlook.
나 디링 나 가르송고라스나 다지나 안에 제르무주 결혼의 상기기 좀는 될야 딘데 숨비고네 되샤 제산데 김장 딘데 숨비고네 네 야고레 샤나 네 켐발라나 메바레 아네 딘데 또바 인자 켐발라나 메바레 제산 딘데기 또바 나신 샹리야 숨반자데 덴발라나 메바레 사지 야 되고 부여와 디푸베 김장 가레 람나다 디디리 김장에 가레 람나 다 디링된 마순 거래 지된 거바 진예바 디에자와 마릭데 강시 통외 대도바 딘진자와 중화 송세데 디스케시 송거래
이거는 그런 놈의 디규츠인데 성성에 디사포 고마서
산유 줌네디 결혼기 켐발라나 메바레샤 딘데기 야고 켄샤 켐발라나 메바레 진짜 딘데 결혼의 켐바 나시 제용게 샹리아 안에 마노와 진의 송샤 딘자네 덴발라나 메바레 진짜 켐발라나 덴발라나 메바레 세네 딘디기 딘디 숨비고네 되바르와 진짜 디되고비 김장 가래 람나 딘디 숨비고네 되바르와 진짜 딘디 숨비고 되고비 김장 가래 람나 다 김장디 디링 다마 셰데레 진짜 딘마시고 그러셔 지딘 그거 진야바 디자와 마리데 다시 통외 대도바 딘진자와 중어 송세 안지 수고래자.
So, as we heard last night, and in the brief recap now, Jai Rinpoche in the first verse was praising Buddha Shakyamuni for having, firstly, realized dependent arising and realized it completely, and then, so that's for his wisdom, and then secondly, that he taught it, and he taught it in an unmistaken and a complete manner. So these were the two reasons that Buddha was praised for. So now we come to the second verse. In the second verse, we will look at why dependent arising is so important. The Buddha has now been praised for having realized and taught dependent arising. So now we come to look at in the second verse why dependent arising is so important. So the second verse, whatever problems there are in the world have ignorance as their root. You taught dependent arising, the seeing of which refutes ignorance.
당한저 지딘 구바 진예바 세디 한주게 디시월다 지딘나 세디다 한주 코알라 끼디겐디기라 아니 구바 세디 당한주레 끼위 동화 세요하다 아니 끼차네 아니 한주 미단 dunjol 지베네 당한주 당번에 끼용의 끼위 동화 이거래 끼네 야 gengo 차가다 개위 동화 사실이거로 얘네 gengo 차네 되는 마 지게 담말이야 아니 시도데 시위 동화세 계획가와 계획 동화 아니 계획 동화 치유 동화 세대 대수직대 나가도 여여 말해 네 맛에 내가 동화 가려는 것은 랑게 되된 마주비 강아 먹으리 거라서 속에 고야 유자라 고야데 마라와다 소속에 된다 디미비도 손시 디 자와 된다 마주바디 마주비데 디 된다라 베서치야당 아니 즉 강아 먹고 차야데 데비디 마주비 강아 다양하게 미디바디 되나 테네데 테사레 삼네 강아 여러분다 소소 먹어야 디가 내나서 고고 말에 진짜 나사래 나치시사다 아니 나가서 교보 차야 고고 말 교보 차사 강아 테사레스 소소를 강아디 고고 말에 진짜 예 강아디 고고 말 때가서 강아디 게디나 레디거로 봐 진짜 강아디 테비 동아 아니 데베데 소소고 얘기 된다데 마주비 강아다 테베가 동아 아니 디마제 아니 지금 저기 내 중화 시초네 아니 지금 추비 온게 내 나자다 말아야 얘기 동아 아니 데니게 마제 아니 지금 펀춘 직점물이다 아니 lumba 파도 추버 잡제 마주다 데니게 돈에 동아 진짜 능어 봐도 매바 정도 지딘나 동아도 유마시 바지 레디게 규모도 동아지 봐도 이봐 봐야지 지딘 그거 진예바 세티서 데니게 동아 봐도 매바 좀 거래지
Looking at the first line, whatever problems there are in the world, or alternatively, whatever sufferings there are in samsara. So this refers to all the sufferings, all the problems and difficulties that sentient beings experience. Not just ourselves, not just humans, but all sentient beings. So these refer to the suffering states that we experience from the moment of conception and then birth, as well as then through the process that beings go through of aging, the sufferings that we experience due to illness, and then the sufferings that we experience when death comes. Moreover, the sufferings can be understood in other ways too. For example, not getting what one wants despite striving for it. Or when we meet situations or encounter situations that we don't want, we find undesirable. Or when we have a good situation and then against our wishes, we are separated from that. So these are all different ways that we can come to understand the sufferings of samsara, or the problems that exist within the world that we and all other beings, all other ordinary beings experience. Now, very clear examples of this is if our material situation were to completely change and we were to become impoverished. This is, of course, a situation of meeting the unwanted. None of us wish for that. Or alternatively, striving for material security, but no matter how hard one tries, not being able to achieve that unwanted situation also is suffering. And of course, we all want to be healthy, but then the unwanted situation of illness we encounter. So this too is an element, an illustration of suffering. And of course, all the environmental problems in the world, conflict between individuals or communities or nations, these too are illustrations of really the immeasurable problems and sufferings that are being experienced in the world.
Yena yuvi dunga chili kirela yena tangbo mena mevi dunga si da nga jujela ro da penjora chi mena tangbo mevi ngal ti mindu ti nga ra ko to chiksa de han kangal mindu nga kanga du se de dunga chili gorwa da yeba na be penjora juchu cha da be ma so na ya kanga chi yore che da di na penjo juchu ko sa di ma nyamcha the sa sa da an mi shen ye ki chwa sa de sa da an de ni ki thone an chi yang manzule shanda dige ba ya drosa sim trendur da de ni ki thone ye na dunga dige de me na dunga dige sim de dige de je che da nganzu ki chi de na de ni ki kanga da gyun me che ba yong de ge da nganzu di ro de mi le ne de ni ki yore ne dun ro le na da tha dang che da chi din ba kho la ye kho ba yin cha sang le an de ni ki dunga yung go re che de dunga pa do me ba dunga nam dang bo da ma da yung go re che de.
This topic of problems and sufferings and difficulties that beings experience, it's an extremely important topic to think about, because it's the situation we don't want but keep encountering. So for example, we regularly have thoughts of, my life would be better if I had this, if I really do need that, and then we think, so I need this because happiness, and then happiness will come, and we go to great effort to plan how to achieve this and then try and achieve it. So here we're encountering problems and difficulties, trying to achieve something that we feel we need. And then if we're successful and we achieve that, then another set of problems comes. And that is to try now and safeguard what we have achieved, to maintain the situation that we now have, and the fear of losing what we have. And there also may be minds of competitiveness included here. I want to have something that others don't have. I want to have better than others have. Or now I do have something better than others have. I need to sustain that. I need to guard that. So all these kinds of mental situations, these minds, produce the unwanted situation of suffering, of further problems. So this situation of problems, unwanted problems and difficulties, we of course have a lot of experience of, as do all other human beings, animals, gods, all living beings, all sentient beings. They experience problem after problem after problem. This is the nature of cyclic existence.
And then again, the call ya Ganga dine namdra be mas mangochi dine ta mara Ganga ligyo bana dik garele dine yungore sa da tiende gare gyu garele gyu dan jin chi le dine yungma gyu dan jin me ba no yo ma res chisan gyu dan jin garele dine yungure se yungore se pa anzu simju re che ya de ame gare dile osen le dan nyomo ba se dinde gore che le nyomo ba je de sha khondro Naja la soba, Nyomba Drama, Nyomba di Wangi, Le Sabata, and the Nigi, Leda Nyomba, the dinner has a Tikanga Ligo, as you Chasan.
When you think then about the sufferings that we are experiencing, have experienced, may well experience, and others are too, we see that the situation within cyclic existence, the situation within samsara, is that the variety of problems really is limitless, and the arisal of problems and unwanted situations is continuous. Then we need to think in terms of our topic here, that of dependent arising. What is the cause that these problems come from? What causes and conditions are required for this unwanted result of suffering to come from? Because there can be no result if there aren't any causes. And this is across, for any kind of result. A result will not come about if the causes are not accumulated. So what are the causes that lead to this unwanted result of suffering? So in brief, contaminated karma that's accumulated through our own afflicted minds. So through minds such as anger and attachment and pride, from these afflicted minds, we accumulate negative karma. This negative karma then results in suffering. So these are the causes that lead to the unwanted result of suffering. So here we see a relationship of dependency, that suffering is dependent on causes and conditions, namely contaminated karma and afflicted minds.
Di donda juya donda la nganzu bene sajil maksona ni gihab penchu ma ya na dirwa da gihab chi ni pasho sajil di ngal gu zen bi dele chakpa ke ni yu sai rai donda la ya ma ya da chu ya la so ba de ni ge chong le ru chi ne nganzu kes de ni ge chong ji le mi ji keven ji le mi je de ngal gu chakpa ke chakbe wang gi an dele ya di juya ge donda la ya xian gu hua da ya da xian le zhe wang da ya da de ni ge kuma ya da chuo ya da jom ya da de ni ri cha san gang le de ge nyo mo bo de le yong ro da ni ma ju ge ma zu lo su bu le ni na zhe yong ya de an de ji ni an ji ju shu chu ya la so ba da de ni ge ne ya ji ge wang a ma ge nyo mo bo ge le sa je da ma ju ge le sa le di wang ge ma ju ya ji du an yong bo ya cha go ro ba je san de ni za 저기 강아야 차서 저 귀디 그래도 되는데 내가 녀모 발에 된 얘기도 해야 돼 뒤로와
We're seeing this relationship here of dependency with this unwanted result of suffering coming from the cause of contaminated karma, which is itself comes from a cause of the afflicted minds. So it's taken afflicted mind such as attachment or desire. So this is a mind, and it arises in dependency on an object, a physical or mental object. So the mind of attachment arises wanting something, being attached to something, wanting that. And then from this mind of desire, this mind of attachment, leads to activity, striving to achieve this wanted situation. And this then is how the karma is accumulated. And this can be expressed on a macro level between a nation wanting to achieve or take for itself the resources of another nation and therefore engaging in warfare. And of course it can be experienced on a personal level where through the mind of attachment one desires something and then strives to achieve it. And that leads to accumulation of negative karma. And where we can see this quite clearly is in the world of business. So a person in business wants to make profit. That's why they are in business. But with this mind of attachment wanting to achieve profit, this desire for or the strong attachment for profit will lead one to strive for this result in perhaps negative ways, such as deceiving others, taking advantage of others, etc. And even perhaps in illegal activity. So what we're seeing here is from an afflicted mind, one engages in activities, and those activities are the accumulation of karma. And this we can also experience in terms of the unwanted result of illness. So illness is a result, it comes from causes, and those causes would be karma that we've accumulated in previous lives, now ripening, and we experience this unwanted result of illness. So when we look at this, all the unwanted situations, the problems and the difficulties and suffering that we and others experience come from karma that we ourselves have accumulated, and that karma was accumulated by a cause, and that cause is the various afflicted minds. So there's this process of karma being, afflictions being a cause leading to the result of karma accumulated. Then when karma is a cause, it leads to the result, in the case of negative karma, of suffering.
Dunga tamchi ki yu le da nyomo ba de shas le da nyomo ba de kan sungore kan ni ki gore le na zawa marik ba se de ni ki gore de zawa marik des.
So we're seeing this this progression here of dependency on cause and effect. So if the effect is the unwanted result of suffering, whatever problems there are in the world, this comes from a cause, which is a negative karma, which in itself, if we see that, the accumulation of negative karma as a result comes from a cause, afflicted minds. And those afflicted minds then, they too have a cause. So if we see the afflicted mind, such as attachment, as a result, it comes from a cause. And what is that cause? That is mentioned in the second line, having ignorance as their root. So ignorance is the root cause.
She's an idea of Marikpa. She's a Marikpa de Kigo said. The Marikpa de Ganes said, Nanganzuki, Marikpa said, Dazin Marikpa said, and Tenzin Marikpa said, Niga Marikpa Sigura. She's not that Dazin Marikpa said, Tenzin Marikpa like you. Tanganzo Gansa Dadu to was a bit Dazin. And the Pumbola so temperature was a bit Tenzin. The Sula Marikpa Sigura Marikpa. Gansa Dadu to was a bit Dazin. Pumbo la so be and demba to be dancing tela, chuggy dancing, or the dazi gansa dancing, chuggy dancing, nibody, and the maripade. She's a Zawa Tires, Tangan to Yomoba, get Zawa Cutie, Mariba Tires, Della Dene Yomoba, control, Deshata, Marakigores. She's a Deshata on control at dinner and as a later Mara Sajan, Nazuki, Gama, Mariba, Dunga Chazan, the Deleted Ligores.
Ignorance then, as we hear, is the root cause of all our afflicted minds. So what then is ignorance? So the ignorance referred to here, we can call it the ignorance of self-grasping, the ignorance of true grasping. So if we say, so these are the same, but if it's used, the object may differ. So the ignorance of self-grasping has as its object the self that appears to be inherently existent or self-existent or truly existent. And then ignorance grasps at it as existing in the way that appears, as being self-existent. So the mind of ignorance grasps at the self as being self-existent or inherently existent. And that is the ignorance of self-grasping. The ignorance of true grasping, the object can be different, but the mind is the same. So if we have this mind of ignorance grasping at, say, the physical aggregates as being truly existent, as existing in the way they appear, as being inherently existent or self-existent. So what is ignorance? as ignorance of self-grasping or the ignorance of true grasping. And this mind of ignorance, what is that? It is a mind that grasps at an object, whether the self or another object, as existing in the way that it appears. And how does it appear, that object? As truly existent, as self-existent, as inherently existent. And this is the mind, this ignorance, that is the root cause of all our afflictions. And in this relationship, the stream of dependency again, from ignorance results, ignorance is the cause that results in our other afflicted minds, such as attachment and anger. And then attachment and anger, which they are a result, but when they are a cause, they result in the accumulation of karma.
Kansa dinzin la kansa dimba de dinzin la gore kansa da du de be da zin la gore che
There's the ignorance of self-grasping then. So when we say the ignorance of self-grasping, then it indicates that the object that is being grasped at by the mind of ignorance is the self. So the self, how does it appear? It appears, as we heard last night, it appears to be truly existent, or it appears to be inherently existent. The sheet was given out today with a whole lot of synonyms. So just to say, the sheet was created so if we read other commentaries, you'll see there's a variety of terms that are used. So just to know that there are a lot of synonyms here. So the self appears to be self-existent, or truly existent, which means that it appears as if it is independent of anything other than itself. It appears to be not dependent on any causes and conditions. It appears to be independent. So this is what it means for the self to appear as being truly existent or self-existence. Then this ignorance of self-grasping grasps at the self or believes that the self exists in this way. So this is the ignorance of self-grasping. And we can call it the ignorance of self-grasping, we can also call it the ignorance of true grasping. And in this particular instance, it relates to the object of the self or the I.
Inigi kansa korong ko kanle ma tuba rangun rangwa na na shin kanle ma rangun ni tuba ting de tin tin ba de kansa da tin si ni la tha de tenju bi tu mo mai ba je je tum da ma shanda de gi kansa de la ya kansa da tin le ma de je sang ma du kansa da tin se tenju bi kansa la mi che kansa di kanle ma tuba rangun ni tuba rangwa na wa na shin rangmu de tuba na wa na shin rangmu de tuba zimba de la kansa da sin la de tenju bi ki ma do rangju ba da de zo man chi gi de la kansa da sin lang ba de
Mais ça m'a self losong in yang kya kan recognize
kansa sio la kansa su na yang du kan le ma tuba rangmu de tuba nang go ro ba na wa na shin rangmu de tuba zimba de kansa da sin so ro ba ji di kansa da sin.
So what I've just described here, amongst the various Buddhist tenets or the various Buddhist philosophical views, is a unique presentation of the highest of or the supreme of the various Buddhist philosophical views, the Prasangika. So Prasangika uniquely say that the ignorance of self-grasping is this mind that grasps at the self as existing in the way that it appears, which is existing as being self-existent or not dependent on anything other than itself, as being independent. So this, what I've just been saying, is a unique view of the Prasangika.
rangu ngwe ne drup de jin ro a che san kan sai ge ngo ran shin di ko ma thong wa de ma go ha mo go wa de 지사 마릭바라데 고마도바지 마도바 하모와스 거라 마릭바 지사 가사 다젠디기 가사 라신 간데 이바 뭐네 하모와지 딜레 도쇼를 진주여와 지사과를 마릭바라고 하겠어요 마릭바라는 하모와라고 그러와 지사 믹메바다 지바 차도와 마릭바라고 하기는 되거라.
So what is the essence or the entity of the self? So in essence, the self is established independence on others. The self is established independence on other than itself. So it is a dependence arising. But it appears as if it is independent. So the way it appears to our mind is as if it is independent of anything else, anything other than itself, hence self-existent. But in essence, or its entity, is that the self is established independence on others. And then the mind that doesn't realize this mind that doesn't understand this, is an ignorant mind, hence its ignorance. So it this mind of ignorance doesn't understand how the self exists, it doesn't understand the essence of the self, hence ignorance. It's ignorant of how the self exists in essence, and it rather believes that it exists in a way that it appears, which is not how it exists. So this term ignorance here we can liken maybe to if we don't see something. If we don't see something, we don't know that it's there. So this mind of not knowing is ignorance. So we've been talking now about the ignorance of self-grasping, which is the same as the ignorance of true grasping, but the object is the self. That's the only difference. The term ignorance of true grasping then is usually used when referring, or when it's precisely used, it's referring to an object other than the self. So any phenomenon other than the self. So for example, the self or the I. The ignorance of true grasping at the aggregates as existing in the way they appear, as being self-existent. Or something like this pillar, or the trees outside. They appear to our mind as being self-existent, as not being dependent on anything else. Then this mind of ignorance grasps at them as existing in the way that they appear, truly or inherently. So this is the ignorance grasping at phenomena, as opposed to the ignorance grasping at self. It's just different terminology we're introducing. So ignorance grasping at phenomena, or the ignorance grasping at the self. So here it's just the object that differs. The mind is still making the same mistake. This mind of ignorance is still making the same mistake in that it believes that the object exists in the way that it appears.
And Judy carries a letter, no more was it Judy Macabana, and Judy Latina Gedina, and the Dumadi high in Bares. Just that you letter, no more but the cow who never saw orders. You letter, no more but never saw there. Indeed, you carry do say you, Maripa said never saw orders. Chesa Mariquadi Meva Sobaina, and then Leda Numoba Leomara. Leda Numoba Mena, and a D changing and Kuba Chikitina Kamatiki, Dumati Herayomades, Chesang and Duma Sealia, Korimbamas on the Cheba Shimjuji, Duma Setan can say Hugure, Labiodu, down to Digi Trupia, Duma Sea, the Setan can say was in Leda Numoba Pango Gavores, Leda Numobu, Zawi, you doesn't Maripas at Zawana Gavores, Dikawa and Nana Duma set to Gores.
Reading the first two lines again. Whatever problems there are in the world have ignorance as their root. So what we've been looking at here is that all beings throughout the world or the worlds are experiencing unwanted situations, problems and difficulties, almost seeming to arise one after the other, oftentimes many different sufferings arising together. So that is the situation that all ordinary beings find themselves in. And what we're hearing now in this presentation on dependent arising, this presentation on dependency, is that this type of dependency that is dependent on causes and conditions, in this example, the unwanted result of suffering comes from a cause. And that cause is contaminated karma or negative karma. This karma itself comes from a cause, our various afflicted minds such as anger and attachment and pride. These afflicted minds, they too have a cause. Their root cause is the ignorance of self-grasping. Understanding this process and then thinking about the situation that we all want to experience, which is uninterrupted happiness. We want to experience a life completely free of problems and difficulties. Having this wish, we need to understand this process so that we know what to eliminate. Because a result cannot come about without its cause. So if we eliminate the relevant cause, the result will not come about, will not be experienced. So if we don't want to experience suffering, we need to eliminate the causes of suffering. We go through this process again. So if we don't want to experience the result suffering, its cause of karma needs to be eliminated. If we want to eliminate karma, we need to eliminate its cause, which is the various afflicted minds. Wanting to eliminate the various afflicted minds, we need to eliminate the root cause, and that is ignorance, in particular the ignorance of self-grasping or the ignorance of true grasping. And if this is done, if the ignorance of true grasping is eliminated, then because the root cause has been eliminated, this entire sequence that would follow no longer can follow. Because the cause is eliminated, there can be no result.
That's our marikpa, and that panguguyana, and ganis pangures, and ganis the meva sale, Yamlin ganis chewore, ganis chene, and the lam gomkure, gomche pangture, labna, that 16 years more. Gashi tongue, dead opa, Gashi tongue, dead opa, that do Carfungorosene. Di lome gashi tongue dead opa, penny marikpa paya dida, paya de canis pangre, caricin pang canis pangre, lamna, lam yamling ganis chevore, laviodu, that 60 somebody gashi tongue dead opa said, di sumpore.
That's a sumpa. And this brings us to our third line, our fourth line, sorry. There's the seeing of which refutes ignorance. So this, for us, the fourth line is the seeing of which refutes ignorance. Then this shows what we need to practice. And so again, just to say, this term that is translated as practice, it's best understood literally as to gain experience of. So what one needs to practice, what one needs to gain experience of. And that is referring to seeing or realizing that what refutes ignorance.
Then the gashi tongue dead opa said, senior gashi tongue 대도바 강시 통외라데 진짜 말이 빠데 간스 고르래라 진짜 땡진 저와 중화지 만zul에 가사 세디 나와나 신가지 난구도 당보 상다야디 가른 난구도 제바체 버렸어 그래서 난구도라나 나도 나요도 강아야 마도바 한국문에 두바 난고래 세데 대 나와나 신치가도 두에면도 제바체제 아니 가르를 때는 두고도 제바지도 전 제바체도 아니 강시 간좀 지래 땡진 저와 중요도 제바체 버렸어 진짜 그다 땡진 저와 강사 세디 간스 두 세디 제바체 오르와 당서 제바체도 지난 소송아 세디 오가래야 라바가 세디 라바다 강바 라바 차상 유딩에 될라 거래서 제바체 제상이 이 풍부 세디 강바 라바 샤다 루고 차상의 띠네 주도 바시래 세지 제 그 띠네 주다 제바체 되니게 강사 세디양 되니게 규단 견지라 띠네 주도 바마도 강아야 마대와 랑원데 주바지미도 제가 유단 긴 차실을 뛰는 주바지래서 제바치도 강사디 딘진 저중화 통용도 통외 가시 통외서 강사디 딘진 저중화 현의 뛰는 주바지 도고래제 도고래제
the education in the sense of being pay
유단 긴 차실 차상로다 강사신 유단 긴래 되게 차실을 되고 지상만도 강사지 근데 두 세제바치도 다 나와서 나와 나신 나와도 강사디 라신 주바 갈라마도 랑고 주바 능고로와 진짜 디 나와 나신지 두에 민도 강사데 가와도 두 제바치한테 강사데는 강sam지리야 땡진 저와 중화 현실을 뛰는 주바 통그리에서 강시 통외에서
the seeing of which refutes ignorance is third line. So here, what this is alluding to by this word ignorance is we have this mind of ignorance which grasps at whatever object or phenomenon appears to it as existing in the way that it appears. So this is this mind of ignorance, this mind that doesn't understand reality. So here, we're right at the beginning of the text, and here it's showing that the starting point is to come to understand how phenomena appear to our minds. So whatever phenomenon it is, we need to come to understand and then see for ourselves, or understand for ourselves, not just theoretically, but experience for ourselves, how any phenomenon appears to our mind. So how something appears, and then the ignorance that believes in this or grasps at it. So every phenomenon that appears to our mind appears to be truly existent or inherently existent or self-existent, which means an object that appears to our mind appears to be independent of anything else. It appears to be self-existent. Yet we've been hearing how it doesn't exist in this way. So it appears to us in a way that is false. So if we think, as we heard briefly last night, we can then relate this to the self. The self or the I appears to us to be independent, not to be dependent on anything else at all. So if it existed in that way, we should find it. And then we can do the investigation like was mentioned last night, look to the body and the minds, and come to see that it doesn't exist in this way. So rather, the self or any other phenomenon, or the self, the self does not exist in the way that it appears, which is truly, which is that it appears to be independent. It appears to be self-existent. Rather, the self is dependent. And what is it dependent on? Causes and conditions. It's dependent on parts. But this is not how it appears to us. It's not how we believe it exists. We naturally grasp at it. We naturally believe that it exists in the way that it appears. So that is the meaning behind this term, ignorance.
제산디 나와나 신다는 간적이 가오도 쉐바치디 간적 풍부에 때네 예 두에 미두세에 가상 쉐바나 신진에 아니 니 라바디기는 nga 말에 아니 풍부 되네 강바나 라바나 샤다 루고 근데 삼단에 대순 아니 nga 말에 니 수부지마도 nga 말에 제산다 되네 자다는 아디 가르라는 수부네네 땅 때네 nga 세디 예미도 통야미도 지난 마통원에서 다른 가로서 삼로 나로 삼로 나는 가디에 두에스 간 제바치도 초와 삼로 나에 초와 두시 셈바 세드라마라 요르와 근데 셈바 상보세야 아니 콩로서 데니기 삼단 콩로디야 나마레 셈바 상보데 니 심레마도 나마레 지난 데니도 제바치도 안주기 나세디 셈 풍보데네 풍보디게 찾아 나마레 셈디게 찾아 나마레 지난 두 삼다도 안는 아디 가래다 풍부이 나는 예미도 삼로 나는 예미도 안 치료디와도 여러분 디하요 말이지 이해요 말 두 제바 두스 디네 제제요도 방점질래 하디가 예 랑 나와나 신지 매도 동상지마도요 말이지 지상 데니게 동상도 또도 데니게 동상 통비로디라 동이도 셰랍시고 그래지 데 동이도 왜 셰랍디 대시 마릭바디기 가르상 가사디 강라에 뭐 랑원이 주버 진되어로와 다디 동이 또 베셔라디 가사세 강라에 뭐 저 랑원이 주 자와기니 매바 동상에 동거로 권유로 갈라자요. 세상 가다에서 데니게 동이 또 로디도 곰곰곰곰요도 데니 마릭바디 도 그래 매바 차그래 해서 그래. 가시 통에 동이 통에도 대도과 세드 마릭바디 매바 자로 그래. 매바 수도 그래 해서 그래.
When we engage in this meditation practice, the first point we always need to start with is to try to get a feeling for and understanding of how the object, such as the self, appears to us. So this is always a starting point. Just try and see how our sense of self appears to us. And we need to try and see this directly or manifestly. In other words, it needs to be very apparent to us exactly how the self appears to us. And when we have a clear feeling for how the self appears to us, that's when we can engage in the process of analytical investigation, trying to find such a self. So when the self appears, we see the self appears as being something that's independent, something that's self-existent, that's not reliant on any causes and conditions, that's something that's not reliant on parts, that is not a result dependent on causes, then we need to look for that self, because we seeing that the self, our sense of identity, appears to us as being self-existent. So let's find it. Let's now try and find this self that appears so real to us. And as we heard briefly last night, we look first in our physical aggregates, in our various body parts, and the coarser and the subtle body parts, and we see there's no single body part or even a collection of body parts that we can point to and say, that there is the self. So if it's not in the body, then maybe it's in the mind. So we look in our individual minds, such as our various feelings of pleasure or displeasure, or the minds such as discernment or anger or loving kindness. And we see that no single mind can be identified as that self, the self that appears to be self-existent. So again, we then come to this conclusion that we can't find the self at all, the self that appears so real in our physical or mental aggregates. So if it's not within our aggregates, is it somewhere outside, something other than our aggregates? And of course it's not. Our self isn't out there amongst the trees. Then, having looked for the self that appeared to be so real, come to see that it doesn't exist in this way. We come to an understanding of emptiness. So here, the object that is understood is emptiness. And the mind that is understanding that object is the wisdom understanding emptiness, or the wisdom realizing emptiness. So previously, when we started this meditation, the mind that grasped at the self, that mind then was an ignorance of self-grasping, because it grasped at the self as existing in the way that it appears, as truly or inherently. Now we've come to see that that mind is an ignorant mind. It's a mind that is ignorant of reality. Rather, we've come to see that the self is empty of existing inherently, empty of being self-existent, empty of being truly existent. And the mind that has come to this understanding is the wisdom understanding emptiness. So this mind that we now have present, the wisdom understanding emptiness, is a mind that is completely opposite or contradictory to our previous mind, which was the ignorance of self-grasping.
ane chike ksem gangi tene ja nye me da tongsa chitobi ki lo dile tongyo tubi lo siyo ba ta chi san tong dine ki cheba che de gansa de gawa du ganis du sin cheba che de sao yu ne nye me de tongsa chi ma to nye me de tongsa chi ma to me ba le che de ta dine ki to san anda gansa de yo ma le be sin gansa de yo res anda ganis du la ne lo pa da ba zang pong bo ji le pong bo de 풍부하게 차시지게 발로 따잠 지마도 요 말에 로 따잠 누선 하고도도 안 될이야 아니 또비 따잠기 민경 따예점기 강사 하고 와래서 내 군주 팀변은
die tamme de yanke die doctor kandes yore
근데 강사디 kandes yore 강사다 누 따신 집에서는 요 말와 근데 강사디 예면 딱 강사 자기는 매와 레벨은 매바 말에 강사 요래서 and ganis do la de pa nyaje ji tongyi to san nyaje gansa ganis de shimji che de gansa de pa lui phungbo cheshi ji de pa da zam ji yo ba ha go lo les lui da zam ji ma do rang ne ma ju ba da shen ji be chen ye me de ken an pa lui ma da ma ji be chen na an lui pa da zam ji yo ba ha go yo de de le ya an dian de chang mo de kun zu chang mo ha go les do ba les kun zu chang mo 군주 템바나네 군주 템베난 차쇼세다 근데 민장 다여 점지 근데 군주 템바세다 된제세다 민장 다여 점 디하고 원래스 디 다디니가 하고 여기 민장 다여 점세디 근데 텐주비 투모 많이 바래 마도 현다 랑주고 만치기 랍투고 하고 말해지
근데 디 타마
민장 다여 점 민장 다여 점 파르 가사세 파르 다바 점 지마도 비네 메디게 다신 집에서네 메 lui pa da zam yu ba di ha go ya de la yu ba de le mi ya da yu zam di ten yu bi ki tu mo ma yi ba de che
좋죠. 네, 근데 타마 이 군속 대치 기한 가수는가?
민장 da yu zam 군속
그는 뭐면 군속 직선.
군속 템바 군속 참 군속 템바 참 군속 템비 난다 뭐 차쇼 되죠.
그거서. So we've going through this meditation, looking first of all, how does the self appear to us? When we have a clear understanding of how our sense of self or our sense of self appears to us, we then look for it. We then come to see we cannot find it. It's empty of existing in the way that it appears. And this mind that understands that it's empty of existing in the way that it appears is the wisdom realizing or understanding emptiness. And the wisdom understanding emptiness understands that the self does not exist truly. So then the meditation needs to progress. And the next then, if we divide this meditation into two main parts, that would have been the first. So now we come to the second main part. And this then is, now we have as an object emptiness and as the subject or the mind, the wisdom understanding emptiness. So here we think, so does the self not exist at all? Because I've just investigated and I've searched well, couldn't find it. So does that mean the self is non-existent? I don't exist at all. The self doesn't exist at all? It's not the case, because what we also see is when we don't engage in investigation, there is a self. Right now, we're not investigating, there is a self. And likewise, in that meditation, then the yogini will see that actually when I'm not investigating, there is a self. So then how can it be said that the self does exist? So the way that the self then could be said to exist is that it merely imputed by mind onto the aggregates. So when we investigate for the self, we seek looking for the self, whether it exists in the way that appears, can't be found. When we don't investigate, there's an appearance of a self. So therefore, the self exists as a mere imputation by mind on the aggregates. Now this realization that the self is a mere imputation by mind on the aggregates is the realization of subtle dependent arising. It's a realization of, that's the first one, subtle dependent arising. Secondly, it's a realization of a subtle conventional truth. And then thirdly, it's a realization that it exists, the self exists, merely designated nominally in name only. And this then is a unique prasangika view. Thank you for Minkyam Chikurebe, Yamana di Dempa Drupa Chasing Chamo, Dan Kunzo Dempa Chasing Chamo de Sumka.
Dempa Dakshin Jebe Sena, Nye Me Duhen, Mena and Lupa Shazam Yuba, Kunzu Dempa Dende, Lu Shazam Yuba. D and Yuba di Minya Dayuzam Sigura, D 10 you two more mind.
So these three then, and I'll say them again, especially the third one, because it's the same, it's a new term for us. These are the same, and they are a unique prasangika view. So the three also, this realization that the self is merely imputed by mind on the aggregates. This realization is that of subtle dependent arising, subtle conventional truth. And then thirdly, that the self exists merely designated nominally in name only. The self exists merely designated nominally in name only.
Mingyang Dayu Zam said, Mingye Dazam Mado, and the Rangman to buy Mindu said, Benanzo Rapa Jilla some time when Osjiki or Bene Diluada and the Jala de Denechila Garusic or Garusic or Denechila Garula. Bene Tele Chuzesic or what the Chuzes Ashro. Chesa Dambo on the whole Nachuzes a Dua Marwa. Dambo Chuzilla Yoma and Delia. Jig Suechi, and Tusik dead, Suechi, the Suesan, Michigi, and Delia, Chuses Lapsharo. Jazan, and then Chazan Michazan, Titon, Chuzes Legorua. And Dinashin Anzugi that Anzugi Gehapke Sinzin de Georwa, Sinzi, and then Bene Anzugi Gehapke Sinzi, Naminga Lagina, or Dambo Hora Sinzi Marwa. Jazan Delia, Leche, Kuani, Tejan, Jasan. This is mean die, go since it mean die. Denegi Kopa, Shabazamato, Dambono, Suji Pam, Malabgala, no Corona, DJ said, Merwa. Ramon Juba in the Danish Korea. Denimes of Palupa, DJ is a Patasha. And Ganzam Duzu Zoro de Mares, Louis de Mares and the mind by Chason. Denis, Colli Patabazamato, Coron when you droop to Engineer, Coron when you droop to Jena. Let's look a
little bit then at this third point of exists merely designated nominally in name only. So to understand this mere imputation by name on a coarse level, a way that's easy to understand. So I can look at some objects before me. There's a cup, and so here name is imputed onto this object. By mind, a name is imputed onto this object. Likewise with this clock next to the cup. So we couldn't always say that this was, for example, a clock. In order to be able to impute name clock onto this object, then it first of all, the parts needed to be assembled by skilled people, and they created this object, and only thereafter could the name clock be imputed onto this object, and not just by myself, but us within our community, within society in general, we would all agree that this object is a clock. So here, this is an illustration of mere imputation by name, and that's one that's easy to understand. Another illustration that's easy to understand is Australia has their Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. So if he were to walk in here now, it's also, there's our Prime Minister. If he were to walk in here 3 months ago, we would say something else. There's the what is he? The Chancellor, the Minister of the Treasurer. If he is to lose or his party were to lose the next election, then he'll walk in and we'll say there's a member of Parliament or just a ordinary member of society. So what we see here is that his title is merely imputed independence on conditions coming together, and not just by one person's particular point of view, but in general, the society or the community at large would agree he is the Prime Minister, he is suitable for the name Prime Minister to be imputed. But if he were a self-existent Prime Minister, just like if the clock were self-existent or truly existent, always in the past and in the future, it would be suitable to be called a clock or a Prime Minister, because it would be so independently, self-existently, inherently. It wouldn't require anything other than itself to be called a Prime Minister or a clock. So this is an easy, and these are illustrations that are easy to understand that what is meant by mere imputation.
Dini inzada marik basadi jisan tongi tobi lo geje tongi dubi sheda kom tongi dubi lo shike de tongi tone de lo di kombale dini dazmare bo to tu was dini inzang tongi to yadi ane kanis tobure lamne tendige sam namsha sam da she ane dogu gures jisan dini inzang gashi tongwe chik shibade gashi tongwe dedo tenjin zhewa junwa song side sangye jumne di tenjige namsha de yane yang to song wa le che de jisan tenjige namsha yane yang to song jisan tenjige namsha de la tenje sam da jine tonyi to ba le tene das mari ba do das mari ba do de le da nyomo ba ma ke de le tene ni ga da mje se tu go le de zan sangye jumne di ge tenjin zhewa junwa de yane yang to song ba le se tenjin zhewa junwa song se.
So what we've been hearing now, that we've heard now about what is meant by the term ignorance that we see in the second line, and what is meant by ignorance, and we've heard that the way to eliminate ignorance is to cultivate the contrary mind, the wisdom, understanding, emptiness. And so that's what we've heard, and now we come to the third line, you taught dependent arising. So this is then mentioned because it's through understanding dependent arising that we can meditate on and come to realize emptiness. So in order to eliminate ignorance, and we need to realize emptiness, develop the mind of that is the wisdom, understanding, emptiness. How to do so? The Buddha for this taught dependent arising. So the presentation on dependent arising the Buddha taught repeatedly, and he did so as enable his followers to meditate on dependent arising, develop the wisdom realizing emptiness, and thereby eliminate the contrary mind of the ignorance of self-grasping.
세상 안주에 강아지 세고고래 안에 소소이나 강아 세고고래 미션다이네 샬리아 안 직행이 강아 세야단 디기투고야라 팸바투고고레스 세상 데니인자 안에 안아솔이야 안아솔이 미션다라에 라전 참말에 강아 용야디 유디다 레다 녀모바레 데니 리구투스 세상 디레 녀모바데네 기고레 디 녀모바데야 자오 다즈 마레바데네 기고레 세상 유점는 디기 송와레스 지난 데니 소마나신 다가랑 데니 용고레스 지난 데니기 강아데 세야라야 아나가서 가르치고선 자와 마리 바디 메바스요 고레스 디 메바스다디 동유 두비로 곰제마도 매봐서야 해요 말이지 매봐한자 동유 또야디 탑시 당보 간에 삼당고로서 띠니게 남샤 삼당제 동유 또 그래서 나도 차상다 대화되어봐다 누가 믿어봐 있나 누가 세게도 달라 땡지기 남샤되게 삼당고 그래서 디 삼당제 동유 또 두바지 그래서 인디선 거라다 델리아 베주치 그래서 뭐라 그래
In this second verse, the second verse, which is the first verse of the main body of the text, the main presentation. In here, Geshe Rinpoche is giving us advice. Starts by saying to us that all of us want to eliminate suffering and be freed from all forms of problem and difficulty. And by doing so, we will develop the ability to actually help others too, to help others also be freed of suffering and difficulties. And the way to do this is we need to meditate on the nature of reality, we need to meditate on emptiness. So in order to be able to do this, then Geshe Rinpoche is presenting here the causes of the suffering that all beings experience is the negative karma that they have accumulated. And the cause of the negative karma, so this relationship of dependency, is their own afflicted minds. And the cause of this multitude of afflicted minds, such as anger and attachment and pride and jealousy, is the ignorance of self-grasping. That is the root cause. So Buddha Shakyamuni has taught this. And what he taught here is that the root cause of all our suffering is the ignorance of self-grasping, and therefore that has to be eliminated. And the only way to eliminate this is to develop the appropriate cause, and that is the wisdom realizing emptiness. So ignorance is a mind, wisdom is a mind. To eliminate this mind of ignorance, the mind of wisdom needs to be cultivated. And how to do so? So if we then change the wisdom realizing emptiness from being a cause that eliminates suffering, eliminates ignorance, we change that to how do we develop the wisdom realizing emptiness? We'll cultivate its cause through meditating on dependent arising. And that then is what Geshe Rinpoche has been presenting here. So he's saying to us in the second verse that we need to strive and make effort. We're repeatedly thinking about this process of dependent arising in order to eliminate the cause of all our suffering and thereby attain lasting happiness.
지나 되는게 직지에다데 직지시 시보디기 땅한두기 직지시 여러와다 직강치도 와들라 디기 직강디기 가르팅 거래 람나당한도 데바니세 삼다바이나 군주데바다 돈nem데바 세시 이순고라 지사 다 지디응고바 진예바 디에자 마릭데 세야다 가시 통회 세 디수기 아니 가르치면서 군주데바디기 시고로 군주데바
단다 지금 담보단 숨던전
담보다 니바다 숨비기 디수기 아니 가르팅 텐제 세야디 가르팅 거라세나 가소레 숨바 가시 통회세 디바도 가르팅 거라세나 디팅거로 군주데바 세 팅거로 근데 대다 녀모 유 제보 시고로 데 군주데바 시고로 데도 베세데 도바세데 데네 통회 대도 베세데다 가시 통회 대도 발라게 대도 발라데 대지 마리바 빵비 빵바 세데 빵두구리 녀모 동이도 싫어 공부했나 공부할때네 된심 빵두구리 세데 빵배 빵바 고텐데 띵거와 대고텐데 띵거 제가 대동이데 동이 띵거와 제가 되는 인자 디기 돈나네 바다 군도데 바니 데바니 삼다바나 식시디기 군도데 바다 되는 데면 니 띵거래
These four lines can also be understood, or this verse can also be understood in terms of the presentation on the two truths. So if we read it for us, then it will be the first, the second, and the fourth line. These then, whatever problems there are in the world, have ignorance as their root. The seeing of, and then have ignorance as the root, the seeing of which refutes ignorance. So these lines relate to the conventional truth. So what's meant here by the conventional truth is from this relationship of cause and effect, or the cause of contaminated or of negative karma leads to the result of the suffering in the world. And this contaminated karma itself comes from a cause, afflicted minds. And then there's the afflicted minds, they themselves have a cause, and that is ignorance. And then, so therefore, these, for us, the first, second, and fourth line relate to the conventional truth. Then the third line, you taught dependence arising. This relates to the second of the true truths, that of ultimate truth, or emptiness, or true cessation. Because it's through training in and then realizing emptiness, through cultivating the mind, or attaining the mind, or the wisdom realizing emptiness through meditating on dependent arising, that one realizes the ultimate truth, realizes emptiness, and attains a true cessation. This mind then, this mind that is the true cessation, that is the wisdom realizing emptiness, this eliminates the ignorance of self-grasping. So therefore, this verse can also be understood in the context of the two truths, the conventional truth and the ultimate truth.
다 디자와 마리바스 군주에 봐 동아리 주디게 간스 용구리 세데 자와 레다 녀모바 디 데나 안자 마리바텔레 된 중구리 세데 안 군주에 봐 가시 통에 데도바 세데 다디게 돈 고데 가서 우리 땡디게 돈이 또 베셔로 공발에 되네 가르도고 센 데진 빵게 빵바 고든 투구리에서 또바 빵로 그래서 다 땡진 저와 송시디 제가 고든 토야기 묘모바 빵베 빵바 고든 토야라 아니 돈이도 비셔라 곰데 대안 땡진 저와 중에 땡지게 남자 삼다 곰제 되니게 삼다도 돈이 또 별로디 곰제 냠된 제고를 해서도 람데 제가 직대라 지간데라 딘신 남샤에 대한 것도 거래.
Furthermore, one can think about this verse in relation to the Four Noble Truths. The first line, whatever problems there are in the world, so or alternatively, whatever sufferings there are in samsara, this directly then or clearly relates to the truth of suffering. The second line relates to the true origins, have ignorance as their root. So the origin of suffering is ignorance. Then, for us, the fourth line, the seeing of which refutes ignorance, that then relates to true cessations, the third noble truth, the abandonment of ignorance and the attainment of a true cessation. So the fourth line for us would relates to true cessations. And the third line for us relates to the fourth noble truth, that of true paths. What is the path that should be developed in one's mind? What practice should one engage in? Meditation on dependent arising. So through meditating on dependent arising, one eliminates ignorance and attains true cessations. So therefore, this verse can also be understood in terms of the Four Noble Truths. So here, as for yourselves, when you go home and you engage in meditation on this, then depending on your wishes, but you can meditate to it at subtler and subtler levels. So we've just heard, we've been hearing this morning about the explanation of this verse and how to use it in meditation. And then in addition to this, one can meditate on the two truths and one can meditate on the Four Noble Truths. So in this way, one can take the meditation on this one verse to deeper and deeper levels. Or one can take the meditation on this verse and approach it in different ways. Or one can approach this verse through different ways of meditating.
That's Saba. They say, Lord and Temba, Tenjin Jawa, Julia, Kiki, Tembe, Nidu, Jitaru Kondo Chumi, Rus.
Now we can start the third verse. How could those of intelligence not comprehend that the pathway of dependence arising is the very core of your teachings?
They say, Lord and Temba, Tenjin Jawa, Julia, Sidu. And they say, Lord and Temba, Sidu. Dinigi Sanye Jumnen Digi, Ma Sun Shebigi, Delia, Shinju Chedu, Chedu, Loda Dembas and Kaba, Denjin, Joe, Juvi, Namsha, Du Sine, Shimju Chin, Jeba Cheche, Denjin, Joe, Juvi, Namsha, Tondu, Dinigi, Denjig, Namsha, Tombanila, Kaba Chaba, Kaba, this Kabas, Loda Demba, and Kaba, Dinigi Loda Demba, Kaba Diki, Kaba, this. They say Lodan Demba, Lodan Demba, then a Kabala. Karele Kabalana, they say Sanye Jumnendigi, Nyomobaza, Mariba, Dobe, tablet, Dending in Namsha Sunwa, the Niki Dending in Namsha Jeba Cheche, Dending in Namsha Manoa, Machuba, Dending in Namsha, Poti, Don, and Della Casu, Gamma, Tomba, Tomba, the Nito, the Nito, and Loda Demba, Dending Namsha Kaba.
How could those of intelligence? So, who is meant here by those of intelligence? That refers to those who have taken the teaching that we've heard in the preceding verse and have meditated on it with some success, coming to understand that this process of dependency, that suffering is a result coming from a cause of negative karma, which itself is a result that comes from a cause of the various afflicted minds, and that those afflicted minds themselves are a result that come from the cause of ignorance, in particular ignorance of self-grasping. So those who understand this well are referred to here as the intelligent.
Denigi Dendigi Kabadigi, Dendigi Namsha Kabadigi, Kaba, Dendigi Namsha Dorn, and the Conjugi Castle. Chesa, Dendigi Namsha Dorn, Dendigi George Door, the Nigi Della Donu Door, the Nigi Donu to the Landi, Dendi, Donu to the Landi, Yamaji Combaina, and then that Yomoba doesn't marry by the Pantu over the house. The Nigi doesn't marry by Pantu, and tell it in the Yomomakia. Yella Dene Gama just said to you about it, Tamji go on from nobody, and dig how to what is how to go as
and for us the third line, the pathway of dependence arising. So these intelligent practitioners, they understand that they need to develop the pathway or the mental path of dependence arising. Because it's through developing this mental path of dependence arising that they will be able to abandon the ignorance of self-grasping. So to put it another way, through the path of meditation on dependence arising, that the ignorance of self-grasping will be abandoned. It's the intelligent who understand this.
Tenjin Jawa Jungu Gombe Lam, Della Dene, and that's a Maribaji, Patu Inza, that is Subatilla, Kuji Tempe Nidu Kasa, Tenjin Jawa Jungu, Kuji Tempe Nidu, said Kuji Temba, said Kuji Sanye Jumni, Chemo Sunwada, Jamini Gombo Sada, and Jimbadan to Jim Sada, and then Duma Gombo Sada, the Nigi. Soon, that so the Nesi, the Karesha Lana, and Nimbo Karesha, Denjig, Jawa, Denjig in the Tony to the land Leshas, so Dirisha, Saji, soon be trained under that. Nimbo, so the Denjig in Namshat in the Tony to the land, Tony to the land Leshas, the only Leshas.
here the intelligent, they understanding that it's through cultivating the pathway of, or the mental path of dependence arising, that they will be able to understand they will be able to eliminate the cause of all suffering, the ignorance of self-grasping. So now looking at, for us, the final line is the very core of your teachings. So the meaning of this final line is that Buddha Shakyamuni taught a vast array of topics. He taught about the need for and how to develop love, the need for and how to develop compassion. He taught about the importance of ethical conduct, what is meant by ethical conduct, and how to develop this, etc. He taught a vast array of topics. But the very core, or the essence, the vital point, we could even say the heart of the Buddha's teachings, is the path of the wisdom realizing emptiness. This, the path of the wisdom realizing emptiness, is the very core, or the essence, of the Buddha's teachings. And then the final line, not comprehend that. So how could those of intelligence not comprehend that? So what Ajay Rinpoche is saying here is those of intelligence do know this. So he's using this this negative of not comprehend, but the meaning is that it is certain that those of intelligence will know that the very core of the Buddha's teaching, of the Buddha's teachings, is the pathway of dependent arising. Those of intelligence will know this.
다신 방한제 안에 강아시 고래 지사 산제단 탈바단 탐지키비 고바 산제 고바 토야래 다신 방 고래 지사 다신 마방 바라 산제 고바 토야래 고래 지사 니니 인상 안에 나라 중에 동의하고 맞지 잠니제를 공부하다 안 진진바다 수준이 양내 같이 제베네 다신 방 토야래 고래 다신 방은 탈바단 탐지키비 고바 토야래 말아 내가 탈바단 탐지키비 고바 토야다 명목과 자원이 방해라 다신방 우리 지금 다신방 봐라 이년고디 동의 자바 공백이 다신방 두고 말해 자바 공백이 자주심 공백이 안에 다신방 두고 말해 지금 안다 다신방이 남지 가르방 공부를 동의도 싫어하고 그래서 지금 동의도 싫어하다 딘진 저어 중에 상다년 동의 상가 얘네 공지 딘진 저어 줘 딘진 天地给他们家上大的东西做吧，天地给他们家上大的东西做的，那东西这边落去光钱呢，大人帮土土，也帮土人呢，三九五帮土土，现在今天是明目不帮呀的，三九五帮推了，南就做的开始，大面这个写了东西这个写了后面，当然天地给他们家后面的这些还是有的。
So why is it said here that the very core of the Buddha's teachings is the pathway of dependence arising? Because as we heard, the Buddha taught a vast array of teachings, a vast array of topics. So why is this being identified as the very core? And that is because all beings, all sentient beings, we have this wish to be freed of suffering and to experience lasting, uninterrupted mental peace or happiness. So with this strong motivation, this desire for uninterrupted happiness, uninterrupted mental peace, we engage in our variety of activities. So with this as a core motivation to be freed of suffering and experience only lasting happiness, the Buddha, the core of the Buddhist teachings is directed to achieving that. Because the states that are completely freed of suffering and therefore where happiness or mental peace is stable, lasting and uninterrupted is the state of an Arhat or a foe destroyer, or the state of a Buddha, an enlightened being. And to attain either of these states, that of an Arhat or of a Buddha, one has to eliminate the ignorance of self-grasping. The ignorance of self-grasping is not completely eliminated. The state of an Arhat or a Buddha cannot be attained. So no matter how much one meditates on the other topics that the Buddha taught, all of which are important too, such as love and compassion and bodhicitta, no matter how powerful they arise within oneself, they alone cannot eliminate the ignorance of self-grasping, and therefore they alone cannot lead to the attainment of lasting happiness, the attainment of a state freed from suffering. So how then does one attain a state that is freed of suffering? What path or what mental path does one need to develop? One needs to develop the mental path of the wisdom realizing emptiness. And this then is done through the presentation on dependent arising. So through meditating on dependent arising, one develops the mind that is the wisdom realizing emptiness. Or to put it another way, through meditating on dependent arising, one realizes emptiness. One realizes emptiness with the wisdom realizing emptiness. And that mind that is the wisdom realizing emptiness is cultivated through meditating on dependent arising. And that's how we become free of suffering. So therefore, amongst all of the Buddhist teachings, the principal one, the primary one, the main teaching is the method for developing the wisdom realizing emptiness. Principal teaching then, the core of the Buddha's teachings, is that of the presentation on dependent arising.
Under the Lobsang Dorje was in it, Jeremy was in it, Sangi Chimney, and Sangi Chimney of Korong, Namania, and the Chevache, Yamship Chase, and Dumaki, about Kadechine, and Yomoba, Kigu, in Yomoba, the Yan, they does in Maripa, the Kigu, the Nan Kama say, does in Maripa, the Bango, yes. Now, deep on going down, and get on a tap lamb community, don't to be shared up. Yes, it's not only to be shared up tea, and not to get the other thing again. I'm just sometimes to say that don't you talk it. Then it's that they come by the dinner, and then now to get young of a down about to put it in a power and dig it to put it. How about you go to do this? San Yujimani in the Sungsha. Denison Dilla and Jeremy do Sonsha, Sungo, that did on to get Yaman Delia, San Yujimani, Sumana, Yaman Yamachi, that want to be some Tango police or Yamachi, yes, in Dama Junior Sumana, Yaman to be Dilla as an elderly Nada, Kanamu, Chili, and Nasa, and Chicken Majama Ribada, the Nekama the Ramala Yuba Nashi, she has him somebody come about me. Yes, what I do sometimes, the name was that the need that Tam Rang, Mazi Shen Tam, Chikama said, did you to some Jan to one, not in tea, some became on the media sometimes. Shen Jan Dijuna, some again, Jambas, the name Jamjay sometime. The name Jamjay sometime. That is some gentlemen to Yada, some gentlemen to Mother Jahadi, some gentlemen Rasha Rama, some gentlemen, Gana, so that they saw I say, Yomo to be ordered. So that Yomo got the bounce of it. Then Yomo power enough, and then Gana said who is. The Yomo power Lamdi, Galbon was going to be shared of orders. So that the in the Russian Samagi do not say earlier me. Tachi, Nichi, Desan, Sanyogo want to watch in Siberia to send some fire. In that Sanyogo want to Ella, Sosuki Yuyen, no more the Bongo in the Sipala, Tapan, the Shinashi, 돈이 되게 싫어하고 세상에 일이 남샤티 상다 야 돈이 되게 돈이 제바제 돈이 돌아가는 공기 semje 공제내 사유 유모바지 빵빵제 사유 고마 도바지 인생이 디네 상다제가 저기 된디기 남샤티야 네 직제바제나 돈이 남샤 돈이 제바제 고면 언두제 냐면제 이거 저게 두시에 오래서 숨고 다시 이름이 나중에 쇼베게 최진이가 같이 디리고 지나가 있는 이내서에 가야 지금 제기 두시 상다에
Let's summarize what we've been looking at this morning and summarize in a way that guides how to meditate on this topic. So again, I said a lot, I just need to review, get back to where we started. So Buddha Shakyamuni, he taught that we ourselves have the responsibility to come to investigate the situation that we are in. We are in the situation due to our own activities. It's our responsibility to recognize this and to eliminate that. That is all up to us alone. It's all up to us, cannot be done for us. So we first need to start out by coming to investigate the situation we find ourselves in. We start by looking at suffering. We mentioned that earlier in this talk. Come to understand the variety of sufferings that we experience continuously throughout cyclic existence. And this is an important meditation because it generates the wish to be freed of suffering, and the stronger this wish, the more we'll want to engage in the methods to eliminate suffering completely. So having reflected on suffering and come to an understanding of our situation, naturally we'll move to the second point, which is to reflect on the causes. Not wanting to suffer, we'll want to identify what the causes of our suffering are. And this we've heard about now a lot, that suffering, an experience of suffering is a dependent arising. It comes about in dependence on the cause of negative karma, which is itself a dependent arising. It comes about in dependence on afflicted minds. And these come from, as their root cause, the ignorance of self-grasping. So this is what has been presented here. We need to first identify suffering and then the various causes of suffering. And when we come to see what the causes are, thoughts will naturally come. So the third step, how can I eliminate these causes? How can I eliminate these causes? And the way to eliminate these various causes is to destroy the root cause. And that is the ignorance of self-grasping. And that is destroyed to cultivating the contrary mind, the opposing mind, the wisdom realizing emptiness, the mind understanding emptiness. So if the mind realizing emptiness is the antidote to eliminating the ignorance of self-grasping, that's mind understanding emptiness itself needs a cause. In other words, we need to accumulate causes to attain this result of the wisdom realizing emptiness, and this is meditating on reality through dependence arising. So if we meditate on dependence arising, we come to understand reality better, we come to realize emptiness. And this then serves to eliminate the cause of all our suffering, and lead us to attaining eventually the state of liberation, or the state of an arhat, a state that is liberated from cyclic existence, a state that is liberated from suffering, or even the state of a Buddha, the state of complete enlightenment. So Rinpoche here is encouraging us that if we have the wish to experience lasting happiness, particularly the greatest happiness, that of a Buddha, we need to train just like a Buddha. If we want to experience the result, that is the omniscient state, that is the state of a Buddha, we need to develop the causes. We need to train just like all the Buddhas have done. And that is what is being presented here. And then, in addition to this meditation, so what has been said now, we've heard throughout this class. But in addition then in one's meditation, when one comes to this point, one should take it to a second step. And that is to relate this understanding that we have developed in our meditation to others. And remind ourselves that all ordinary beings share the same wish as ourselves to be freed of all problems and difficulties and experience lasting mental peace. All beings must be freed of problems and difficulties. There's no difference between us in this way. And then, secondly, remind ourselves that they now are also tormented by suffering. And unlike us, they have no understanding of even the depths of the subtleties of the suffering that they experience, let alone the causes for that suffering, or the antidotes to those causes. So thinking about this hopeless situation that others find themselves in, compassion will arise within us. Thinking about the close connection that we have with others, this relationship of dependency that we have with others, the wish for them to be happy will arise. In this way, love for others arises. So now we've generated compassion and love for others who are suffering in cyclic existence, seeing that they are in the same situation as us, and desiring happiness but not knowing how to do it, to achieve it. Thinking like that, the wish to be able to lead them to a state of lasting happiness arises within us. And then we can give rise to this commitment, taking responsibility for the welfare of others. And this then leads us to committing to strive to become the most skilled of guides. Here we generate the mind of bodhicitta. We have cultivated the two causes, the two aspects of taking responsibility for the welfare of others and striving to attain enlightenment for the sake of others. Having generated bodhicitta, then the next step then is to think, so now having generated bodhicitta, how do I go about fulfilling this wish? How do I go about attaining the state of Buddhahood for the sake of others? I need to engage in the six perfections, in particular that of the perfection of wisdom. How do I engage in the perfection of wisdom? Well, I need to develop the wisdom realizing emptiness. And how to do so? I need to engage in the investigation of the presentation on, I need to engage in analytical meditation through the presentation of dependence arising. So this is a complete meditation on how we can engage in the meditation on dependence arising through a wide variety of subdivisions, looking at a relationship of cause and effect between suffering and the causes of suffering, and how to eliminate suffering, right through to developing bodhicitta, and then to again at the end of this process once again meditate on dependence arising. Atisha. So that brings us to the end of this morning session. If you have some questions, then please feel free to ask. Alan?
Could you just, sorry, a little bit confused when you talked at the end of the meditation, in order to progress the meditation, then you need to have that realize that the object, when we understood emptiness, that the object is subtle dependent arising, as it itself is merely imputed on the aggregates. It's a subtle conventional truth. It exists in name only and is a unique presentation of the Prasangika Madhyamika view. Is that sort of correct? Is that? Sorry.
Sure. So
fast.
No, that's fine. So do you want me to confirm those three things, or do you want a bit more meaning?
I got five, but anyway, three.
You got five. Okay, no, five was too many. And I'll just say it again.
Yeah.
But I just need to rewind up the page a little bit. Then I think you better do more my impe tawa de ki kola sung sung. Then de yanka logrofna. Then de tagia de trick di yeah de deso. Then dundam tempa dam kuludam karina.
Kansa na de che kanina ta hin jibi chena dong sang chima to yin de ji che. And mewa de mewa ma de. Mo ta hin jibi chena dong sang chima to me na ya. And ma ta ma jibi chena ko le pa sha ba to be ta ba de yo de. di yobadi da tamo sigile da di tenyu bitomo mai balese
di chik thank you for the morning pe tawade then deduk ngoma kana di ni yang sumpi di tempa drupa tracing to amo chikje then di chik di yemen tempa dondan tempa yang kunzu tempa versus dondan tempa
deni gi yo kansal masana tashin jibis na yime dongsang ji dongni ruwa ane kansal meba lebe meba mare kansal di pa lui sha san da zong ye ba di hago wa de la kunzu chamo hago wa de ne de de chamo hago wa de kunzu chamo hago wa yes deni selpo hakona disum netang di dönshi kreper mare hago wa se de kansal di tashin jibis na meba ji lui pa da ba zu ye ba se na kunzu chamo ruwa de deni 데니게 여바 그 참모래 되게 비트모 많이 데니게 여바 하고 나는 봐도 데니 또 불러줘 봐 지도 불러진다 그냥 그도 참모도 불러라 이게 그냥 되게 봐도 현자로 말이야
So I'll say the three again and then explain it. So the three is the subtle conventional truth, subtle dependent arising, and then this new long term exists merely designated nominally in name only. So the first two are a little bit quicker to write: conventional, subtle, subtle conventional truth, subtle dependence arising, and the third is exists merely designated nominally in name only. So what this is so where this comes from in the meditation. So these are unique to Prasangika. They come when one engages in the meditation, one is seeking the truly existent self or the self-existent self and doesn't find it. So that's the point when one has a realization of or an understanding of emptiness. And then one thinks, so does the self not exist at all? Because I've investigated and I don't find it. But I know if I don't investigate it, I can talk about a self. I'm thinking, for example. So how then can it be said that the self that that appears when we don't investigate, how does that exist as a mere imputation by mind? So this understanding then is an understanding of subtle conventional truth, subtle dependence arising, and this is the third one that exists merely designated nominally in name only. Okay, good. And at the back?
Yourself, you just said, is an imputation from the mind. By that I imagine you mean your mind. This imputation, in the sense of presupposes your mind.
Yes.
Your mind must exist.
Yes.
If your mind exists, you exist.
Yes. Yes.
It follows that you exist.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So that is contradictory and confusing.
Yeah.
I'm new to all of this, so that I want to believe it, but it's unbelievable for me to believe it.
Well, if you knew, congratulations on saying this wrong. Okay, but no, it's a valid question. It's a good question. So if we're saying that the self doesn't exist, but it's merely imputed by mind, then if it's imputed by your own mind, then your mind must exist. And so if you're saying the mind exists, but the self doesn't, then this seems contradictory. Yeah?
Yes, that's the point.
Okay. Then kung ledan popare, yene kung yene di namsaki yichite kidope yore, yene kung gelda tongso, yene kung kacha yaposuso. Then not so dak de le kiming taksam yopa yena, then soso le mingtagi yore. Then di yena soso lo de yopare. Lo yopa yini dak mepa di geldare.
Da di jidang yore, da mepa lo ma. Da di dashin jebe chena yo ma le sho. Ngaro de na dangbo di sam da ngaro samlo na da sa samba ga kharji wasne. 강아야 맞아 랑문이 두바로 능고로 온 디나신 다돼요 말이죠. 지상 데니기 나신 다디 가도 제가 지는 예요 말이죠. 단냐면 안 다디 매버를 유허스 왜 받다 받을요. 예서. 지난이 다디.
Denn kom kati plaats zelf laten. Kom gavle dona kare. Denn so lo de. Tempo kare. Dede.
지난 뒤로와 다디 나보 다 위에서 상당하지 그래서 나도 나는 강来맞아 랑문이 두바 신난 거래서 디나신 나와나 신지 랑 강来맞아 랑문이 두바 다 뒤에 신제가 되나 예가 말이지 이 예마 매나 안에 다 매바를 좀 내가 말이지 요래서 간시어서 다 다른 다바서原来안에 화를 따는 거지 다 지거래 그 로디 간시어서 나도 로디 삼단다 로디양 나도 나는 이제 같은 거는 강来맞아 랑문이 두바 신난 거래서 디나와나 로디 가와도 제가 지난 년이야 말이지 그래서 로코랑 제가 지나 나와나 신지 랑문이 두바 로디가 말이지 로디에 간시어서 다 다바점이 다바점이고 로현다지 다바점이야 말이지
So that's really an incredibly important question because it brings out some important points that will be covered later. So first of all, thank you for asking that. So your understanding is correct that when first one comes to see how the self appears, and this is a self-existent, and then when we investigate, we can't find it, so we know it cannot exist in this way. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all, because you're sitting here hearing, I'm sitting here talking, and so then how can we say that the self exists? Merely imputed by mind. So that was your understanding, and your understanding was correct. So then we can take the meditation in a different direction, because what we were doing with that meditation is we looked at the way an object appears to the mind, and that is, every object that appears to the mind appears as truly existent or self-existent. And so in that meditation, the object was the self. So let's now take another object. This mind understanding emptiness, or the mind understanding selflessness, if we take that now as the object, the mind understanding emptiness, how does that mind exist? And we do exactly the same meditation. We start by seeing how that particular mind appears, and like all objects, it appears to be self-existent. It naturally appears to be naturally existent, truly existent. And then we try and find it. So it's the same process, just a different object. So when we say any phenomenon appears to the mind as being self-existent, it can be the self, it can be the mind in general, a particular mind, it can be an external object, whatever appears to the mind has this appearance of true existence. And then we can engage in the same meditation sequence, looking for that object, looking for that truly existent object. And then in the end, to your question, in the end we come to see that the mind that is understanding selflessness that appears to us as self-existence doesn't exist that way. So therefore, it's not, we realize an emptiness of self-existence, but that too, that mind is also merely imputed by mind, different mind. And then if you can, once you can check that mind too. and that's how the process works. Everything that appears to the mind appears as truly existent. And then we investigate. So where is it? Because we're looking for true existence. Where is it? Okay.
It's puzzling how to think about
it. Yeah, there's lots of food for thought. Lots of food for thought. Okay. Thank you very much.